You were talking earlier about kind of how you're going to run the point guards. And, can you expound on that a little bit, on that approach and sort of how you want it to look during the season?
I'm not sure. I think we play to the level of what the players do best. Ball movement's the key. Having 5 players that can move the ball, that can score. I think with a team like this, the guys that would be considered inside guys are pretty good away from the basket. The guards are pretty good around the rim, and that's the key. I think the most important thing with guard play outside of the decision-making and the shooting is who can really get the ball going downhill and not only make plays for themselves, but make plays for others. That's one area that Yogi was so good in. So I don't think this would be a team that you look at and say, okay, it's going to be one guy that's setting the offense, one guy that's getting us into the shot clock. There's an area that we really need to be better at as a team, and we've spent considerable time trying to get this mindset. It's in the middle of the clock, so we're behind certainly, and how fast we get it up the floor. The more flow we can get in the middle of that clock, where at times last year we become stagnant, is really, really important. And there'll be, I think for us, it's a matter of what kind of alignments are we starting in, not as much what kind of plays are we in, but what kind of alignments are we in. And sometimes there'll be 2 guys in front, sometimes there'll be 1. It just all varies. So to me, the point guard position is the one that gets the ball defined on a made basket, gets the ball up the court the best through the drive or through the pass, can get to the basket, can make a pull-up, can play in the ball screen, can create for somebody else quickly, especially the trail position, and can make threes. And so getting a team of guys that get as good as they can get at that, and then everybody else being able to play accordingly. We've said this for some time, our motion offense has got to be our fast break. And it's much more about spots on the floor and how you read the defense than it is who's got it where. And I think that's the most important thing for our team moving forward.
You've obviously had several guys, first-round NBA picks over the last few years, projected to have a couple more. What are the keys in your player development program that help guys get to that position?
Well, it's the athletic training and it's the mental toughness, as much as anything else. The guys we've had, and Victor and Cody, will certainly be a part of this, and Noah will as well, is the second contract, right? And I think one of the reasons guys get second contracts is because they go up to that next level, and they've got the mental toughness to deal with what comes. And there's going to be adversity, there's going to be disappointments, there's going to be successes, and you've got to be mentally tough to do that. So I think when you practice at a tough rate, when they go through hard things together, when they learn that it's not only their talent level, but it's they got to have that talent of not only playing hard, but that talent of bringing it out in other people. That's really important. And then it's just constantly developing them, never letting them get satisfied with where they're at as a player. And even when they can't see it, you have to see it. You see it in recruiting, and then you have to carry it out while they're there. And when you get guys that have that extra work ethic, like a lot of our guys that have made the NBA, and like so many of our guys on this team have now, that's a prerequisite for success. Because when you get to that next level, there's even less requirements of being in the gym. And to me, it's really, really important that they have that. So it's never letting a guy be pigeonholed into a position. We're such a positionless team, which is really, really hard to get across in recruiting, because people want to label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or point guards, shooting guards, center, power forward. That's really not what we do, and we don't train the guys that way. And I think that the NBA is so multi-dimensional, multi-positional, versatile that I think that helps us too, because that's when we play best. So some of the biggest things.
How much do some of those guys come back, like a Vic, like even Dwayne? It seemed like a couple of years ago he might come back for you to maybe help tweak some things or something like that. Do they come back a lot? How do you approach that?
Well, now Dwayne sends his son to camp, so that's how old I've gotten. Send his son to be in basketball camp for a couple of days, his oldest son. So Victor wasn't back as much this summer. I mean, he was extremely busy. Cody, back and forth a little bit, but he had the surgery, and those guys are busy, but Cody still owns a home there. But they always know they can, right? I mean, they always know they can be in there. And it's the same for the guys that played for Bob Knight or Mike Davis or Kelvin Sampson or Lou Watson. I mean, you name it. I mean, they're welcome in there. But when you've got guys that are really, really busy, they know at a drop of a hat they can be in there. But they're very busy in their careers, and I think that's what's really good. But we've never had anybody that I've coached that wouldn't make a phone call to a player or answer a question that needed to be asked, or give you some advice on something you're looking for some advice on in a moment's notice. And that's when you know you got a great family.
Brian Colangelo said on Woj's podcast recently that neither he nor a lot of NBA executives even look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 anymore. It's guards, wings, and post players. And I know you've been about versatile, players for a while now. Why do you think that has really sort of expanded as much as it has?
Well, because I think I don't have a great answer to that. I think there's so many different size guys that are skilled in so many different ways. And the size of that league, I think when we took our guys to the Knicks-Nets game the other night, I mean, they could see it right there. I mean, the size and the space that's taken away in that league because of the way guys move. You've got to be that much more skilled. You've got to be that. You've got to have that ability to play quick. You've got to have that ability to read situations. And in the NBA right now, probably 80-90% of the teams are switching 2, 3, and 4, right? So like that negates your ability to do a lot of things in that situation. The 1 and 5 position become really, really important. And if the 5-man can't guard, the guards, if they can't play ball screen basketball at the shot clock, you know what, they're not going to be as valuable to their team, especially at the end of games. And I think the more you get guys to understand the versatility that they have to play with, and that's why athletic training is as important as anything. And the athletic upside to us, I've said this for so many years, and it's so true, with our recruiting, the athletic upside is valuable, probably more valuable than the actual skill level that they have. Because if they have an athletic upside and they have a work ethic upside, they're going to get better skill-wise in the program. I mean, they really will. And then it's just certain things. Do they shoot a soft ball? Do they have soft feet? What's their quick twitch like? Those type of things. But that league is there's so many things happening at once that you've got to be able to negate. In college basketball, it's not quite, you don't have the size, you don't have the maturity level, you don't have the ages, you got 8 less minutes, but you've got to be pretty skilled to navigate a college basketball game at the highest level, or any level for that matter. And the more skill you have and the more versatility you have, I think the better.
Can you update us where you guys are injury-wise? You talked about it a couple weeks ago with Freddie and different how close
Freddie's been shooting, and we really, much like we did with Colin Hartman a year ago when he was coming off his injury 2 years ago, incorporated him into the shooting drills. So like the shooting drills we do with the team changes. Jawan can do everything but play live, and he's a week, 2 weeks away from that. I don't have an exact date on that, but it'll be soon. Freddie, it's hard to tell. He's moving better. But before Freddie's full speed, I wouldn't see that before the first game. I mean, hopefully we get to play him before the first game, but being able to be in a full speed mode, it's going to be sometime in November, I would think. But healing well. Jawan's close. Robert and James have played with no limitations. Colin's spirit is great. We even get him in some of the stationary shooting, free throw shooting or things like that to keep him as active as he can be. I mean, he just fantastic attitude, which is, and if he comes back with the level of anything close to the level of toughness that his mother Melissa has, because she had knee surgery 2 days before, really a day before he got injured, and she's had 7 or 8 knee surgeries. So the toughness level in that family, he comes from good stock in that way. But his attitude's been great. We've had so many. That's pretty much where we're at. Duran is getting healthier, getting into shape. We had a little Achilles injury with him early on when he was there, but it's guys just learning to compete and concentrate through fatigue right now. That's the most important thing, and then bring the injured guys back as we go.
You mentioned just dropping, I guess, strategic reminders that Kansas is coming out North Carolina.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there anything unique in preparation this month when you have a game like that against Kansas?
Oh, absolutely there is, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we're working on things in the sense of some breakdown things that will apply to that, and we'll really start in earnest here fairly soon, with Kansas, because they do some unique things. And but the one thing that we've got to make sure more than anything when it comes to Kansas, North Carolina, whoever we play, is because of our lack of experience in really going through hard things year after year. Now, we've had some guys that have been through it. Josh hasn't been through it with us. When these guys play their first, we're going to have numerous guys that are going to be playing a game coming off major surgery. So it's the mental toughness as well as the physical strength you've got to have to endure in a game like that. And we have to have that. We have to be in a situation where we're physical and aggressive. We learned our lesson in the Duke game. We can't play to not put them at the foul line, but we can't be overly aggressive that it puts them at the foul line in an easy way. And so we've got to find that level of how hard we play, how competitive we are, but still play smart. That's why it's really getting our details down in the half court right now is as important as anything we do as we build our running game, because teams like Kansas and North Carolina are going to be well versed in a lot of things. And the one thing that you can't find out about till you get in that game is how you're going to respond to the mental toughness that those guys play with. And so every situation that we can get in over a period of time to go with the experiences that these guys have had in the past helps prepare you for that. Every time something gets hard in a practice, those reminders come up that those games are on the docket, so that we understand that level. You've got to take it up.
What's the biggest adjustment guys are going to have to make without Yogi out there? I mean, we've talked about the point guard position. It doesn't really matter who's specifically the point guard, but adjustments for the other guys.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that somebody asked me earlier, it's the biggest thing you miss about him is that the feeling that he's there, right? I mean, there was a presence of Yogi. So, it all goes under that umbrella. The talent, the toughness, the durability, the playmaking, that spirit that he had. So with that comes a lot of confidence for your teammates that he's there. They've got to get that from each other now. I don't think one guy, you just look at one guy and say, okay, he'll take care of it. It's got to be a team of guys that take care of things, a team of guys that take responsibility for each other. And that takes time to get. That's why it's going to take a while for this. I mean, and that's not all we lost, right? You take Yogi out, and all of a sudden you've got Nick and Colin there that really understand ball movement, keeping the game moving, flow. All right, now that makes it easier. Well, they're going too. Max Biefeld can step out and knock down a three. Troy can make a game-changing play at the drop of a hat. Those guys are not there. So what has to happen is, it's not like one or two people we're going to replace that. It's got to be a team of guys, and our depth has got to be a big part of that. Our ability to take care of the basketball and not be a turnover-prone team has got to take care of that. And our ability to make the simple play and cover for each other on defense has got to take care of that. And then Fran Fraschilla had a great line a couple weeks ago, and we've got to like, this is the best thing I've heard about a team. Okay, the go-to man is the open man. And if we play that way, as simple as that sounds, that's very, very hard to do. So if we play that way, then we'll have a chance to get better over the course of the season. If we start thinking we have to be the one to make the play, we're not really built for that.
I know you watch a lot of film, try to take things from different teams, NBA, college. Anything this offseason that you watched or learned that kind of
We've added quite a bit, and it's we've been really moving more into a conceptual way too, with 1 to 3 word triggers for actions rather than for a lot of plays. And we might have 4 things in right now, and we don't have much in. I mean, and spending a lot of time on defense, but the offensive part is the spacing. It's getting the running going, and it's those quick 1 word, 2 word, 3 word. It can look like this, but now it's this type of thing, or it looks like this and now it's that. Where it really becomes spacing oriented, playing off the defense, and quick ball movement. But we've definitely added. And as we go along the line, the most important thing is your skills continue to develop. That allows you to really figure out how you're going to play.
How difficult is that for freshmen when they're coming in?
Very difficult. That's where and a lot of it's designed to make them talk to each other, meaning the older guys too, because some of the things we're doing, you constantly want to change and evolve as a team, and we can play faster. We can have better spacing. So as much as you learn from studying other situations, the most important thing to do is to make sure you're building on your weaknesses. So going through so many films of our own to see where we could be better at this action on the weak side, or this action in a ball screen, this action in a post-up, that's where you really make your most progress, because you're seeing your own team and seeing how people are playing you. And that's changed a little bit. We just tried to really get better at what we do and add some things along the way to it.
What were some of the educational aspects of the New York City trip, plus team bonding?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us outside of the practices is when we make a trip like this, and we've been doing this even when we went to the NCAA tournament a couple years ago, we went into North Omaha to the Abide Center, which was really in the heart of one of the most crime-ridden areas in the country, let alone Nebraska, in North Omaha. Last year, going into the Police Athletic League in Baltimore, we went to 118th and Lenox Street in Harlem and spent probably 3.5 hours, somewhere in that realm, with 120 kids, the workers, their families, people like that. And I'd be shocked to a man that our guys weren't as inspired being in there as those kids you hope would be. And I think the biggest thing we try to get across time after time is be selfless and be a problem solver, right? And you don't do that in one giant swoop. You do that one person at a time or one group at a time. And I think these guys did a great job of that. And there's a great story with these guys, not only with what they do as a team, but what they do when they go back to their own communities. When Thomas goes back to Rochester, when Rob goes back to Richmond, when James goes back to Fort Wayne, it's stuff that's not publicized. I mean, obviously some things, CBS is with us, so it gets out, or the media's there for some of it, but you don't want a group of guys that only do things to help others because it's going to get out on social media. And I think that's important for these guys. But that's the steps that the program has got to take, because the more they understand how to help people and how their name or their jersey may attract the attention, but how they really are and how they make other people feel is what's going to create the connection. And you go in team bonding, but at the end of the day, you're really trying to build more connections and connect your team to communities, connect your team to each other more and more. And I think that's the greatest thing you get from a trip like that. And we had very good basketball too. We practiced at Madison Square Garden. We practiced at the Nets facility. Jim Calhoun spoke to the team, which was, I mean, can't ask for a much better speaker when it comes to knowing how to play tough, win championships, endure. But I think we could go back to last year in Baltimore with the PAL Center. I think we could go to Harlem and say, when these kids, it's all said and done, they'll remember those trips as much as anything else.
Have they gone to Pearl Harbor? Will they go to Pearl Harbor?
Well, we're not. I hope so. I haven't looked at the itinerary, but that'll be great in a history-making way. That when these guys, for where history is, that when they can go and spend time with kids that are living in Harlem, or kids that are living in downtown Baltimore, and they can see that these guys have similar backgrounds to them or what they've overcome. I mean, you want your team. I want my team around people that can tell them not a silver spoon story, but how they overcame something to get somewhere, because that's really what they identify with. Well, when you go into an environment where kids are looking up and they're looking not only for role models, but they're looking for how the world is supposed to be, and they can see an Indiana basketball player that can connect with them at their level and have fun with them at their level, not just go in there because it's a photo op. That's really important stuff.
You mentioned a couple times how you feel this could be a really good defensive team. You mentioned hard-nosed. What are the keys to making what you want to have happen?
Well, the biggest thing is going to be the depth, and that's only going to be. I mean, we haven't been injury free in so long that it's hard to even think in those terms. But if we could get to that point, that's going to make a huge difference. We got to have strength in numbers. We really do, and I think our defensive strength. I think our junior guards, Josh James, is improving rapidly in those areas. Rob is doing an excellent job. He's always been a very good defender. Josh has got a pit bull mentality. Devontae Green right now is second in deflections on the team in 10 or 11 practices. Curtis Jones is learning how to use his speed and quickness defensively. You got OG who can guard a multitude of people. Jawan will be able to do the same thing. We haven't been able to do that with Freddie yet because of the injuries. Thomas is getting better on the perimeter. This is a team that should eventually be able to play different ways. Pressure, half court, trap, switch, all the different things. And the more we can stay out of rotation because of how we can pressure the ball or how we can switch things, and the more we can bring fatigue to the game because of the way we can pressure the ball, the better we'll be. Our team was good last year because they really took care of each other on the defensive end when we learned, right? When we learned how the value of how important it was to take care of each other. But we didn't necessarily bring fatigue to the game. This team, to take the next step, has got to bring fatigue to the game.